Greetings, Human Life Forums. I'm the Meister, and welcome back to another edition of the OT Podcast, or is it the BO Podcast? Because we have a special guest, Brian, right below me today. There's no Thomas today. He's taking the week off, and we got Brian in his place. If you guys have been listening to the podcast, you guys know we've been talking about this guy. He is the Dolphins fan right below me here. But without further ado, we are going to get right into the thick of things here. We got me and Thomas's records. Obviously, Brian did go 9-7 last week. He does have an overall of 133-91. But for the original two guys here, I took the trophy yet again this week. So completely swept Thomas yet again this season. And he can't say anything that I have to say about him. So your records is terrible last week. I beat you so much better than you. But we're going to move on into Thursday Night Football. We got an AFC West divisional matchup on Thursday Night Football between the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers. This is a very interesting game, especially if you're a Dolphins fan like the one right below me. Two teams in the AFC wildcard race right now. Obviously, neither of them can win the division because of the Kansas City Chiefs. But I do got to say, for both of these teams, I have a bit of a concern for both of these teams right now. Broncos, they did have a dominating victory over the Colts, but it did not look pretty at all in that first half. Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions in that game. Really hurt his Rookie of the Year chances last week. They did win decisively, which is good. I mean, the defense continued to play great, but it was against the Colts offense with Anthony Richardson, so I don't know how much you want to take away from it. But at the end of the day, they got another big win here. They're looking like they're going to be going to the playoffs this season, so congrats to them. But the rookie quarterback situation, I mean, I feel like for every team that has a rookie quarterback, like you look at the Commanders too. I mean, Jaden Daniels has been playing great, but rookie quarterbacks don't tend to have insane success, especially when it comes to the playoffs. Like look at Mac Jones, for example. He had a great rookie season, then he went into the playoffs and then kind of laid an egg in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. But for the Chargers here, I do have a bit more of a concern about because they're kind of turning into one of those teams I was saying in the past couple weeks. You know, they're a good team. They just can't beat those great teams. And the Buccaneers, I don't even know if I would put them in one of the great teams tiers right now. But Tampa Bay just walked into their stadium and absolutely just shit on them. They absolutely destroyed them last week, 40-17. Chargers didn't look good at all. That great defense that we've been seeing for most of the season laid a dud. And the offense really couldn't get much going either. And I think the absence of J.K. Dobbins is really looming on them right now. But I am going to have to go with the Denver Broncos in this one. I know the Chargers, they're kind of flashy. Everyone wants to pick them because of Jim Harbaugh and everything. But the Broncos, even though Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions last week, they've been the more consistent team this season. Like I mentioned last week, the more consistent team. The defense has still been playing great football. And they're just moving the ball on offense. And even though they do have a couple hiccups here and there, they still scored over 30 points last week, even though with the help of the defense, obviously last week as well. But I feel like you got to go with the Broncos here. It's a huge win for the Broncos, and it's a huge win for Dolphins fans too, because they don't want the Chargers to really win any more games this season, and another loss for them definitely helps Brian's chances. But will the Broncos actually help your chances this Thursday, or do you think otherwise?
Well, I hope they do, because that's literally all I can lead on at this point, because I don't know, Miami just can't do anything right. But we'll get to that when we get to them. So, yeah, this game is crucial for AFC playoff spots and all that. And, yeah, I really need Denver to do good because, one, I just like them as a team in general. I want them to be back in the playoffs because it's been a long time for them. And they know it themselves because if they win, they're in, I think, from what I've seen or heard. So they're going to be fighting hard for that. While the Chargers, they're still fighting to get at least closer to a winning in as well. So, yeah, they need this. But I'm also going to agree Denver will win as much as the Chargers will fight back, because I do agree with the loss of J.K. Dobbins. It's just not helping them, and that's forcing them to pass the ball and all that, and that's just easier for defenses to zone in on, while Denver can be both and all that. So, yeah, I'm going to lean with Denver as well. Please win for my sake.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be watching that game intently. Do you work during this game? I'm sorry, I have to ask.
Yes.
Of course we do. But moving on to the Saturday doubleheader, the first of which being an NBC It is two divisional champions already. This could be a playoff preview right here. Is the 9-5 Houston Texans traveling into Kansas City to take on the 13-1 Chiefs. Interesting scenario here for the Chiefs. If the Chiefs win this week and the Bills lose, the 1 seed is theirs. And the next 2 weeks of the regular season will mean absolutely nothing to them. And for the Texans right now, they're battling with the Steelers right now for a 3 seed right now. I think it's a little... I don't think they can reach that number 1 seed at this point. 2 seed they can, but it's very slim hopes for them right now. So this is obviously a huge game for the playoff seedings right here. And, as much as I want to go with the Texans to win this game, I think I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs in this one. And I was saying weeks prior, I don't care what the situation is. I was going to pick against the Chiefs, against the Texans, and against the Steelers. But with how the Chiefs did look last week, they actually won a game by double digits. So it's actually possible for them to, win a 2-score game for once in their life. And I know there was the Mahomes injury that happened Sunday against Cleveland as well. But, it's something he's played through before. And, of course, he was a full participant in practice yesterday. So it seems like he's going to be good to go. And Marquise Brown will probably have his debut this Saturday as well for Kansas City. So that's a huge boost for that offense. Potentially, we'll see. They added Hopkins, and it didn't seem like it did too much to their offense. So we'll see what happens with that. And for the Texans, I do want to pick the Texans here. And I will say they do have a great shot to win this too, because the Chiefs' offensive line hasn't been great this season, but the Texans' defensive line certainly has. They lead the league in sacks, I believe. So this will be a huge test for the Chiefs' offensive line. If the Texans can get after Mahomes here with that injured ankle, I think this screams a Texans victory. But just how the Chiefs have just been unable to lose a football game this season except against the Buffalo Bills here, it almost makes me start thinking, what if the Chiefs only lost this season is to the Bills twice, and the second time is in the playoffs? That honestly feels better than getting the 1 seed and beating them, or losing them, whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs in this one. They just know how to win. That's what the media has been saying, and I feel like I have to say that at this point. They just know how to win. And I feel like with the 1 seed right there, and they have a chance to get it this week, I think they're gonna try to go all out to get the 1 seed this week, especially because if they do win and they do get the 1 seed, let's say the Bills lose, the Chiefs are able to rest Mahomes for those couple weeks, and then he's going to have a fully healthy ankle going into the playoffs, which is something I don't think anyone wants to see. So give me the Chiefs to win this one and advance to 14-1 on the season.
Yeah, sadly, I'm going to have to agree with you there, because what else is new? Chiefs just always find a way to win. Black magic. But, yeah. Yeah, knowing Mahomes, he will play through it, and regardless if he plays the full game or not, just somehow, some way, Kansas City will bullshit their way to another win. Well, they just do. And for Houston, it doesn't affect them as much. It just will affect seeding-wise, because they already won the division. They got a home game at least secured for 1 game. So it's not going to hurt Houston as much, but obviously they still want to win just for the fact of beating the Chiefs and all that. But yeah, there's just no hope, man. You just got to accept Kansas City's just going to win every week now at this point.
Yeah, really, it's really annoying. It is really annoying. The devil magic is certainly real. But we're going to move on to an AFC North divisional game. This is going to be fun to watch on HBO Max once Hard Knocks comes out. But it's the Steelers at the Ravens. If the Steelers win this game, they win the AFC North. If the Ravens win this game, they will control their destiny to win the AFC North. So obviously a huge game here. Huge ramifications for the AFC playoff picture. Huge game. It's really tough to pick this game too, especially since looking at the Steelers injury report, they have a man by TJ Watt who didn't even practice yesterday. It seems like his status might be up in the air for Saturday. And if TJ Watt does not play, the Ravens will win. And I feel like TJ Watt could definitely give it a go in this game, but will he be 100% is also the question. And I don't know why everyone was drooling over Lamar Jackson last week against the Giants when he had those amazing stats. And sure, he is the second quarterback in history to put up those numbers in a game, but it was against the Giants here. Let's be honest. It was against the New York Giants. I don't want to take too much away from the Ravens, but it was against the Giants. So I don't want to overhype them that much considering they have been inconsistent as of late. But, hosting Pittsburgh in a game that should be for the division, and they barely lost to the Steelers last time out. And I know the Steelers didn't have George Pickens last week against the Eagles too, which I know definitely hurt him in that game. But trying to bring Pickens back into the fold here, trying to get him back into the groove of the offense could be a bit of an issue too. But, I could see Pittsburgh sweeping them here too because we know how the Ravens defense has certainly been struggling this season. And I will definitely not give them any credit for their defensive performance against the Giants because it was the Giants. I'm not giving them any credit for that. But this is going to be a really big game. And it also comes down to, do I see the Steelers sweeping the Ravens this season? That's another big question that needs to be said. I don't know if I necessarily do. And I feel like this is kind of the Ravens' time to kind of cement themselves as the best team in the North, even though the Steelers have been having a great season this year. This just feels like Baltimore's game to lose right now for me. So give me the Ravens to win this one and take control of the AFC North with 2 weeks to go.
Well, here's our first disagreement because I'm going Pittsburgh.
Ooh, nice.
Every time Pittsburgh plays Baltimore, especially like these last few years, it just doesn't matter what Baltimore does and all that. Pittsburgh will just somehow always beat them, either by Pittsburgh just playing a great game or Baltimore just not playing up to what they should be and all that. Like, look at last year and all that. They had the one close game in Pittsburgh and all that, and then the last week, which really didn't matter to Baltimore, but still they could have won to eliminate Pittsburgh for not making the playoffs. But this year, I don't know. I just don't trust Baltimore to actually play up to potential to teams like Pittsburgh and all that. Even without TJ Watt, I still feel like Pittsburgh will take over and win the division for the first time since 2020 and all that.
That would be huge. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool because also for me as a Bills fan, it's like if we had to play one of these teams, which one would you want to play less? That is a huge cat. Anyways,
it's just because
you got to blur out your screen here for a second and just put it right up in your face.
Yeah. All right.
But moving on to the Sunday 1:00 window on CBS. We got the 3-11 Cleveland Browns have a new starting quarterback this week in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. It's a big, long name. Going into Cincinnati to take on the 6-8 Bengals, who are hanging on to the playoffs by a thread. Any potential hope they have kind of lies in this game. And I think even if they win this week, they can still potentially get eliminated here. So huge game for Cincinnati here. They have to come out with a win here. And I'm going to have to say that they do. The Cleveland has really owned Joe Burrow ever since he entered the league. I think they're 5-1 or 6-1 or 5-2 against him. It's some insane stat that there is out there. But in a scenario like this, Cleveland has a new quarterback coming into the fold this late in the season. Cleveland played a really uninspiring game against the Chiefs last week, and I get it's the Chiefs, they're the number one seed in the conference right now, but the Chiefs have not played great football for pretty much the entire season. And the fact that he kind of laid an egg on him when teams like the Raiders have been playing close games with them just is really uninspiring again from the Browns. And then you look at Cincinnati. They really got lucky to beat the Cowboys last week. They really did with that special teams blunder late in that game. They really did escape Dallas with a win there. But I feel like that can give them a little bit of juice moving forward in these last couple weeks. Even though they might not make the playoffs, they probably won't at this point. I feel like the Bengals are just going to start playing freely at this point. I feel like this is a good game for the Bengals defense, to actually do something. I know they did look all right again last week, but, against the Browns, I think they should look even better this week, especially no Nick Chubb after he broke his foot, which is really sad to see from him. But this should be a Bengals win. Again, the Bengals offense could struggle in this game too because they have been struggling against the Browns in recent memory. But I feel like this offense will definitely do enough to get the job done here in this one. Advance to 7-8 on the season and keep their slim hopes alive yet again.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there with picking Cincy to win because a Cincinnati win here helps out both teams because Cleveland at this point, they shouldn't even be winning with their record. Like at this point, you might as well tank and get the best draft pick you can. And then with the win for Cincy, obviously that helps them out getting one step closer to possibly making a wild card berth. So what's the point of Cleveland trying to win here other than just beat one of the rivals and all that? Like, woohoo. But then you're just going to move down spots for the draft pick at this point. So, yeah, Cincy should easily take care of this regardless of how Burrow has played against Cleveland because they just really need this at this point. So, yeah, Cincy should easily take this.
All right, so we both got Cincinnati winning here in the first 1 p.m. game of the week. As we move on to the next one, two of the same records here. We have the 3-11 Titans that were already eliminated from the playoffs. That do have a new quarterback this week as well. Mason Rudolph is getting the start this week as they travel into Indianapolis to take on the 6-8 Colts, which, yes, they play in the AFC South. I completely blundered that last week, but we're not going to talk about that. Divisional matchup here. Obviously, Titans are eliminated, as it says on the screen here. I'm going to have to go with the Colts in this one. They didn't look good at all last week against the Broncos. They did play decent in the first half. They kept it close, but second half was really ugly for them. And for the Titans, another uninspiring loss again from them last week is no more Will Levis. They now got Mason Rudolph in the fold, so we'll see how he does in the offense again this season. But like you mentioned for the last game, the Titans are eliminated for them. Like, what's the point in trying to win when you can get a better draft pick potentially in the draft by losing this football game? And the Colts in the very similar situation to Cincinnati, they absolutely need this for any hope they have left to make the playoffs. They need to beat the Titans here. If they don't, their season is over. So in a game like this where your season is literally on the line right now, I feel like you got to go with the Colts, even though I feel like you could make a decent argument to pick the Titans considering how rough the Colts have been playing in recent weeks. So, but yeah, give me the Colts, and who do you got in this one?
The exact same thing as well, because I'm just going to copy and paste what I said on the last one. It's the complete same thing. Tennessee doesn't need to win, might as well tank. Colts need this because if they lose, they're done. So, yeah, Indy needs to win at all costs for their sake.
Yeah, we'll see if they do or not. I don't know. My gut is telling me that I might have to pick the Titans, but it's too late now. It's already pen to paper here. We're both going with the Colts. As we move on to a bit of a more interesting game here, you got the 8-6 Rams who just snatched first place in the NFC West last week, traveling into New Jersey to take on the 4-10 Jets, who looked good in a game finally, but it was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm not taking anything from that game considering how shit they've played this season. Give me the Rams to win this one. And I know the Rams offense didn't play great last week, but it was against a divisional rival on the road, and it was in the elements of the rain and all that. So I'm going to have to go with the Rams in this one. And again, you're probably going to copy and paste again. Jets are eliminated. No reason to win this game, but I feel like for just getting something, because, they should have more wins in the season than 4 at this point of the year, but they don't. I think the Jets obviously are probably still going to try to win, but I don't see them winning this one. The only game they won in the past month and a half was against one of the worst teams in the league, so again, I'm not taking anything from it. And plus, their defense did not look great at all last week, and they gave up a couple touchdown passes to Mac Jones, of all people. And Mac Jones has looked abysmal up until last week. So, if anything, Jets defense is starting to look really bad. And the Jets offense, I know they looked really good. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams are back, but it's a bit too late. Started eliminated from the playoffs. So, give me the Rams to win this one, and try to wrap up the NFC West in these last couple weeks.
Yeah, might as well just keep saying the same thing at this point because they're all so similar and all that. But the one thing I can say compared to the last two is I just have a feeling that the Jets will make this close and all that, and then we'll go into the next week saying, are the Rams really worthy of winning this division with how spotty they can be? But then just out destroy a team. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can have saying this game. Otherwise, yeah, the Rams will win, try to get a step closer of securing the division and all that, and the Jets can just not win.
Yeah, just keep sucking. I watched one of my videos earlier in the season too, is when Devontae Adams first got traded to the Jets. I was like, oh, I'm so glad the Bills won on Monday Night Football. Otherwise, if we didn't, we'd be in huge trouble. I mean, we wouldn't have any chance of the 1 seed if we lost that game at this point. But yeah, it's just insane to see what the roster they have, to see that 4-10 record. It's so great to see, but it's so crazy to see also. But moving on to the Fox 1 p.m. window. And look at this. It's an eliminated team against a team that still has a chance. It's crazy. It's the 2-12 Giants traveling into Atlanta to take on the Falcons. No more Kirk Chains for the Falcons. They had 14 games with them, and they said enough with that. They're starting Michael Penix. And from what it sounds like, they're going to keep rolling with him in the next season here. So Kirk Cousins' situation will definitely be interesting, but that's off-season talk. Right now it's Penix time in Atlanta against the Giants. And it's going to be interesting to see how he plays. I don't think he can play much worse than how Kirk Cousins has the past couple of weeks. So definitely be interesting to see. And I feel like this is almost a perfect game to put him up against the Giants, the worst team in football right now. So I feel like this is a really good game to just ease him into the offense here and get him going. And I know they're in the thick of a playoff race right now, even though they kind of gave up the division to Tampa Bay. But they're only a game back in the division, so you never know what can happen in these past couple of weeks. But this is obviously huge shoes for Michael Penix to fill this late in the season, right in the thick of a playoff race like this. So huge moment for him, the rookie. But going up against the Giants squad that really hasn't done anything as of late. And they looked absolutely terrible against Baltimore. I feel like you got to go with the Falcons here, even with a rookie quarterback starting. I mean, again, you can't do much worse than what Kirk Cousins has been playing these past couple weeks. And I think Bijan Robinson will probably have a great day here, which will be really good for my fantasy team. I'm sorry, again, about your fantasy team. But give me the Falcons to win this one, move up to 8-7 on the season, get that above 500 back with 2 games to go, and we'll see how the NFC South shakes up to end the season.
Okay, I'll just keep saying the same thing as I said the last 3 slides as well. That Atlanta needs this while the Giants don't, except with this one, the Giants absolutely need to lose because they're so close to trying to get that first overall pick. And with the Raiders playing Jacksonville this week, there's a good chance that Giants could get the first pick be in place for the first overall pick. And then while Atlanta, they need it at this point because they're literally half game behind Tampa and all that if Tampa was to lose. And then they win, they jump them. And with them starting Penix, I do agree this is the best time for him to start and all that, even though it's also really late in the year. So it's like you're really riding on him to be really good at this point. But why not start against a team that's deliberately trying to lose? So, Atlanta needs to win this. Try to keep their playoff hopes alive, for division at this point, because they ain't going to make it as a wild card. They need to win the division. And the Giants just get one step closer to trying to secure the first overall pick.
Yeah, so very interesting game here in Atlanta. So we'll see how Michael Penix does in his first career start. But we're going to move on to the next game here. And here we go again. It's a team that's eliminated from the playoffs against a team that has a chance to make the playoffs. Look at that. It's the 7-7 Cardinals. The 7-7 Cardinals fighting for first place in the NFC West, taking on the Carolina Panthers, who are tanking. Can you believe it? They're tanking in this late in the season because they're eliminated. Yeah. It's crazy to see. But I think you got to give some credit here to the Panthers. Bryce Young has been playing all right these past couple weeks. As if he should be the starting quarterback next season, I might still have to disagree with you guys. Anyone who thinks that he should start next year, they at least need to bring in some competition here, because if they don't, it's probably going to be another playoff missed season, because he played terrible in first 75% of the season, and I think for playing good for only 25% of the season doesn't lock up a starting job at all. Just look at Kirk Cousins. He only played bad for a quarter of a season, really, and they already benched him in the thick of a playoff chase. So I don't know if they should be keeping Bryce Young after this season. But again, that's off-season talk. I'm getting a little off topic. But going up against this Cardinals squad, Cardinals, I believe they won last week. Yeah, they beat the Patriots. They beat up on a team that was eliminated from the playoffs last week. So this team has experience beating teams that are eliminated from the playoffs. So give me the Cardinals to win this one. Keep their hopes alive for the division, as they hope that the Rams pull some crazy loss against the Jets, which would be absolutely insane. But give me the Cardinals to win this one and keep their hopes alive in the NFC West.
I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. It's the same thing as the last several slides. I think you did this to me on purpose and all that at this point.
No, I actually didn't. I didn't even think about this when I was making this last night. I'm like, this is actually insane. This might be a first in NFL history. There's been this many games like this in 1 week.
Right?
It's not like the last week of the season. It's insane.
Yeah. But yeah, Arizona I'm picking because, like I said, they're still fighting for a playoff spot. And while I still do think Carolina could put up a fight and all that with how much better they've been playing as a team lately, as much as they haven't been winning, but they have shown effort. But yeah, there's just no hope for Carolina right now. So I'm just going to keep picking Arizona and all that. Hope that they just realize that they need to be consistent and all that if they want to make the playoffs, or else why would you at this point? So yeah,
Right.
Arizona.
Yeah, I'm looking at my sheet here. I kind of hate to do this again, but we got another scenario. This one a little different though, because the Lions already punched their ticket to the playoffs, while the Bears already punched their ticket to not making the playoffs. The Lions still fighting for they're fighting for a lot right now, considering they're 12-2, number 1 seed in the conference. The Eagles and the Vikings are right behind them right now, and we are living in a crazy world where if the Vikings win out, they will get the number 1 seed in the NFC, which is absolutely absurd. And honestly, I do feel really bad for Lions fans because this is the greatest regular season they've had in literally their entire history. And they've been around for almost 100 years now. And now they're getting to the point where there's 2 other teams that are right behind them for the number 1 seed right now. They cannot rest. They cannot wait at all. They cannot keep their foot off the gas. Even for 1 week, they got to keep the foot on the gas as hard as they can in these final 3-week stretch here, especially with basically half their team at this point is on injured reserve. David Montgomery Knuckles is now gone. Over half their defense is now gone. It's really sad to see. Honestly, I feel really bad for them. Obviously, I didn't feel bad that we beat them last week, but I'm upset about all the injuries and everything with them. Because if they were fully healthy, this team could easily win a Super Bowl, and that's something that the Lions obviously have never done. They've never even made a Super Bowl before. And now they're going up against the division rival and the Bears, who played a really close game against them on Thanksgiving. But that was before Matt Eberflus was fired. That was his final game as head coach. But I feel like ever since they changed the coach, ever since they brought Thomas Brown all the way up to head coach, this team has not played great whatsoever. And how could you? How could you elevate a guy that was not even your offensive coordinator to begin the season all the way to head coach in the same season, in the middle of a season, and expect him to coach your team to wins? I don't understand why they thought that was a great idea. If anything, they should have just waited till the end of the season to fire their head coach. But, it is what it is at this point. There's no going back for them now. But eliminated from the playoffs is the Bears. So they really don't have any reason to win this game except maybe pull an upset. This would be a crazy upset in the NFL if the Lions were to lose this game. And it's it's upset to see that the Lions look a little bit vulnerable now. They're missing all these pieces. But I still got the Lions winning this game, obviously, because why would the Bears want to win this game? And Lions fighting for the number 1 seed in the conference. I think they're going to hold on to it for at least 1 more week. And I know they have a game against the Vikings lurking in these next few weeks, so that game will be fun to watch. But you got this game for now on Fox at 1 o'clock, so give me the Lions to win this one and advance to 13-2 on the season.
Yeah, no shock. I'm picking Detroit and all that. Wow. But
oh my God, no way.
Yeah, right. But I can at least say a bit about this because my dad is a Lions fan, so he has told me stuff about this. The thing he says is he's not mad about the loss to the Bills last week because before watching that, he knew that there was a slight chance if they lose, it's not that big of a deal because it's a non-conference game, so it's not going to affect them as much. But it's the injuries after all that that he's really sad about, especially the David Montgomery, but also mainly the Ali McNeil, because that's just a huge piece of the run defense, and the D-line is already banged up, but just add more. Why not? So now with their final 3 games being conference games, 2 of them being divisional and all that, they really need to win out just to try to secure the division first and then get that number 1 seed secured and all that. So, yeah, but with those injuries, it's going to be tougher now because we know the Lions are a good team. They're the most consistent team in the league this year. But now with these injuries, it's going to catch up to them, and I think they're going to probably play down to Chicago in this game. It's going to be like Thanksgiving all over again. But just like Thanksgiving, they're still going to win.
Yeah, there you go. So we both got the Lions winning this one. Shocker, I know. But finally, a game that doesn't have a team that's eliminated from the playoffs. Thank Jesus. We got the Philadelphia Eagles traveling into Washington to take on the Commanders. If the Eagles win this game, the division is theirs. No one else in that division has a chance to win it. It's the Eagles, and they're going to have a home playoff game. If they can win, unless Jaden Daniels has something to say about it in this one, if the Commanders win, they'll be alive for the NFC East for at least one more week as we get into the final stretch here of games. And for the Commanders, they're doing great this season. They're 9-5. No one saw them being like this good this year. But I feel like they're kind of starting to, hit that wall a little bit because they did kind of hit like that midseason wall like a little bit, kind of like what the Bills do a lot. But I feel like they're not the same team that they were in like the beginning of the season. Like Daniels just keep throwing all those bombs back and forth and everything. I know they've been still playing really good football these past couple of weeks, but I don't really like feel like the same way as it did about the Commanders earlier in the season. And the Eagles just on an absolute tear right now. They've won 10 games in a row. They just beat the Steelers, one of the top teams in the league right now. So that's a really good win for them. And this game is for the division in their divisional opponent's home. So I feel like they have all the energy in the world to win this game. And I think they will. They have more playmakers on offense. They got more dogs on defense. And I think this is really the Eagles' game to lose here. I feel like the Eagles, they have a really good shot to win the NFC this season. Obviously, they have an amazing shot to win the division because if they win this game, they win the division. So it'll be interesting to see, and especially with the vulnerable Lions team and a Vikings team that I don't know if everyone is sold on them being contenders. It's looking really good for Philadelphia right now, and this is a huge game that they need here. Because if they lose this game, it's going to make the NFC a lot more interesting. It'll certainly help the Lions and Vikings out a lot, but I don't think the Eagles are going to fall to the Commanders here. So give me the Eagles to win this one and clinch the NFC East as we continue that streak of teams flopping division titles in that division for 20-plus years now. So give me the Eagles to take the East and beat the Commanders here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, only because I feel like Washington, just like Denver early on, it's a big game, but they need this more because obviously they win, they clinch a playoff spot, and that's big for them. But also, just because since this is the second meeting between them and Philly, they now know what they have to focus on for this matchup compared to the first, where going into it, it can either be really close or a blowout like how the first one was. So I feel like Washington might actually do better on defense this time and zone in on the run to force Philly to pass on them, even though their pass defense isn't the best, but it's better than having Saquon run all over you. And then their offense obviously just has to keep doing what it's been doing for most of the year and just score when they have to and all that. But yeah, Washington, I just feel like they're going to do it because I feel like this is the game where Philly will lose late and then it's going to cost them later on in the year and all that. So I just got to go Washington.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there about the Eagles collapsing. This team feels a little bit different than in years past. I know they had a similar coaching staff to Nick Sirianni, so a collapse is certainly still possible, but it doesn't look like they're going to be collapsing anytime soon. But we're going to be moving on to the 4 o'clock Fox window here. Only one game in this window for Fox. It is the 12-2 Vikings right behind Detroit for first place in that division as they travel into Seattle to take on the Seahawks that could potentially be without Geno Smith this week. So that is absolutely huge. And they might be stuck with Sam Howell this week when they're really fighting for their division as well right now. They're right behind the Rams. So this game is absolutely huge for them. It's huge for both these teams, really, but it's bigger for Seattle here because the Vikings already have their ticket punched to the playoffs. So if Seattle doesn't win this game, it's going to be a lot harder for them to make it to the playoffs. And without Geno Smith, I don't see him having a chance against the Vikings here. And I know there's some teams that can incorporate a backup quarterback and still play decent football. Like look at the Dallas Cowboys, for example, with Cooper Rush. They're still playing decent football here late in the season with a backup quarterback. But with how they looked last week with against the Packers, I feel like the Vikings and Packers are on a pretty similar level right now, and the Seahawks are still at home for this game, and Sam Howell will actually have a full week of practice as the starting quarterback, more than likely going into this game. So I'm guessing their offense will play better than it did last week, but I don't think it's going to do well enough. The Vikings also have a really good defense, much like the Green Bay Packers, and their offensive line looked absolutely abysmal last week, and that being Seattle. And Sam Darnold is still playing good football too, and it's December now. We're mid-December, and he's still playing good football. He's been kind of lurking in that MVP conversation, which has been it's actually insane to think about that, considering the start of his career happened. But I'm gonna go with the Vikings winning this one, continuing their win streak, moving on to 13-2, and keeping pace with those Detroit Lions for first place in the North.
Yeah, about that. I'm just like the last one. I'm gonna go with Seattle and all that.
Whoa.
Minnesota. Oh, just like the last one, except I don't think Minnesota will collapse. I just feel like Seattle needs this more than Minnesota, other than obviously Minnesota needs to win to keep pace with Detroit. But Seattle just needs the win based off after how they performed against Green Bay. Like, they got exposed for that game and all that. So if Geno Smith doesn't play, they'll at least have a full week of practice with Sam Howell, which is probably better than just throwing him in like last game, because obviously they didn't prepare to have him be in the game. So that's why they struggled so much. So if they have a full week of practice with him starting, it could lead to better product on the field possibly. But obviously this Minnesota defense is really good and all that. So it might be a tough one, but it's just like Washington. I just have that feeling Seattle's going to do it and upset Minnesota.
Wow, well, there you go. Your gut is really taking over in these past couple of games. Just throwing logic out the window. And my gut's saying this. I do that a lot. It normally works out well for me. So
I've been doing that
doesn't
all
work out
year.
well for you. It's oh.
Here we
Now
go.
this is an interesting one. Huge for the draft. It is 2 teams eliminated from playoff contention. The 3-11 Jaguars at the 2-12 Raiders. Now, this is a really interesting game. Desmond Ridder played absolutely terrible against the Falcons really a couple days ago. And for the Jaguars, they actually played decent football, at least on the offensive side. The defense did not play great whatsoever, but they haven't really been playing great football all season long. But Mac Jones finally had a good game as a Jacksonville Jaguar. I didn't think it was possible, but here we are. He actually had a good game, so that I'm kind of taking that into account for this game too, because the Raiders have been playing tough these past couple of weeks. They really have, especially against Kansas City. They played close against Atlanta. They've been playing close games. They played close against Tampa Bay in the first half, but for this game, after Mac Jones had a performance like that, it actually some team has some juice here, and it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like they got a little something to build off of, at least offensively heading into this game. So I feel like they're going to be able to move the ball at least efficiently on offense, at least do enough to get the win here. I'm going to take the Jaguars winning. And plus for when you think about tanking and stuff, it's a 1-game difference. So no matter who loses here, they're going to be below one another. If the Jaguars lose this game, they'll drop below the Raiders for draft positioning, which is good. And then if the Raiders lose, they'll just stay right below them. So, or right above them, however it works with draft order or whatever. So in these kinds of games, it's really tough to predict who's going to win. But after the performance they had offensively last week, I feel like I have to go Jacksonville to win this one. As of course, it's got to be really annoying to be a Jaguars fan because you're expecting such great things from them this season. They play like crap all season long, barely win any games, get eliminated from the playoffs. And as soon as they're eliminated from the playoffs, they start winning all these football games. It's got to be infuriating if you're a Jaguars fan. But give me the Jaguars to win this one and the Raiders to continue their tank for Shedeur Sanders, potentially for the number 1 pick.
Here it is, the final tank bowl of the year, because I did look on the rest of the year schedule. This is the last one between 2 really low ranked teams and all that. So it's the super tank bowl.
Okay.
This basically will decide the future for how the number 1 pick will play out between either the Raiders and Giants and all that, or even the Jaguars if both those teams somehow win games. But yeah, this is kind of tough. Well, not really. I feel like Jacksonville will win because they at least have a bit more talent on overall of a team than the Raiders and all that. So, and besides the last tank bowl that Jacksonville played in was against Tennessee, and they just did enough to beat them. So I feel like they'll probably just do the same here, even though for all Giants' sake, they want Jacksonville to lose so that they can jump up to the number 1 spot. But I don't think the Raiders have any plans of trying to win since they already hold the first overall pick right now. So, yeah, Jacksonville probably just gets a free win at this point.
All right, so both got the Jacksonville Jaguars winning this one. As we move along to your team, there we are. We have the 6-8 49ers, 4th in their division, holding on to the playoffs by a thread, traveling into Miami. Another team holding on by a thread for those playoffs, the 6-8 Dolphins. When you really think about it, whoever loses this game is done. Like, both these teams absolutely need this game. I already know who you're going with below me, but I'm going to have to go with the Miami Dolphins in this one for the mere fact, I know they did struggle against the Texans last week, which I perfectly predicted, but they are at home, which obviously favors them. And most importantly, they play a team that does not have a winning record. And for that reason, I've been sticking by it for almost a month now on this podcast. I'm going to stick with it yet again, giving the Miami Dolphins to win. And the Niners really had an big letdown of a game against the Rams. We were expecting more fireworks in that game, but they only scored 6 points against the Rams defense. They gave up 42 a week prior. So very upsetting to see that from them. I mean, they don't really have a running back at this point. They got Isaac Orendo back there because both Jordan Mason and McCaffrey are seemingly out for the season. So it's really sad to see for them, and just the injuries have absolutely killed them this season. Now they're traveling into Miami, take on the Dolphins team, and it's been a really interesting year. It would have been a lot more interesting to see how their season would have gone if Tua would have played a full season. I feel like that definitely would have changed the outcome of their season. I feel like they could be in the thick of the playoff chase right now if it wasn't for that injury that Tua suffered early in the season. But it is what it is at this point. I'm going to go with the Dolphins winning this one, ending the 49ers season and keeping their slim hopes for the playoffs alive.
Yeah, the season's just a waste, man. This is one of the most disappointing seasons, even compared to last year after all the hope. This is just even more because obviously you're riding off of last season. You're believing all right, this is the year maybe they finally make a push and win the division because Buffalo's younger. They have less talent. The Jets have an old Aaron Rodgers, and New England is rebuilding, so they're nothing. But as the years have passed, especially last year, injuries just kill them at the worst time and all that. Especially with taking Tua out week 2 and all that, making him miss games. Jalen Phillips getting hurt and missing the entire year again. And then all that stuff, it sucks. And San Francisco's literally in the same boat as Miami right now. Both have had injuries that basically cost them and all that. McCaffrey missing majority of the year, and then when he finally comes back, isn't much of a factor and all that. Brandon Ayuk missing the entire year, even though he wasn't doing anything even before then. I don't know. But the only thing saving Miami is that, like you said, San Fran is below 500. So that gives apparently Miami a boost of confidence. Hey, we can beat them now. I don't know, man. It's just disappointing. But yeah, Miami wins. They keep me hopeful for one more week until they get eliminated next week by Cleveland of all teams.
Oh, no, you better not get eliminated by Cleveland. If anything, you're probably going to be eliminated just from the mere fact that the playoff teams are just keep winning at this point. But yeah, I'm so sorry about your season. I really am. So sorry about it. Yeah. But moving on, we're going to move on to arguably the best team in football right now, the 11-3 Buffalo Bills, who locked up the AFC East a couple weeks ago, all the way back in Week 13. It's 3 weeks ago, as they host the New England Patriots, playing the Patriots for the first time this season, and also wearing a new uniform combo for the first time ever this week against the Patriots. This game was obviously flexed to 425 because the whole world just wants to see MVP Josh Allen out there. Just playing football, it's just what it is at this point of the year. But I'm going to have to go with my beloved Buffalo Bills in this one. Obviously, Patriots eliminated. No need for them to win any more games this season. Of course, they're obviously going to want to try to pull out an upset here, but I don't think it's going to happen. Bills know what's at stake right now. If they lose this game and Kansas City wins on Saturday, which is the day before this game, their chances for the 1 seed are gone. And we know how important the number one seed is to them. We know how important it is for any football team to get the number one seed. So give me the Bills to win this one. I will say I am pretty concerned about the Bills defense right now. I wasn't so much letting up 40 plus points in back-to-back weeks is obviously going to be concerning. And now the injuries are beginning to pile up a little bit on defense. I know everyone for the Bills is practicing in some capacity today, but we were missing 4 starters after Milano went down on defense. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with those guys moving forward. It's going to be interesting to see how the defense plays moving forward. You can only assume that they're going to play better in these last 3 weeks because they played the Patriots twice and the Jets. So they're probably going to play at least somewhat better football, I'd imagine, these past few weeks. So give me the Bills to win this one, advance to 12-3 in the season, and keep pace for that number one seed with Kansas City.
Yeah, no shock picking Buffalo because what else is new? But this could be a trap game possibly because we all know how Buffalo will play, at least might drop one to New England, like how they did last year and all that. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be this one. It's usually when they're in New England. But I won't be surprised if Drake May kind of keeps it close for like maybe the first half, and then Buffalo just runs away within the second half because obviously New England doesn't need to be winning at this point. They just need to have Drake May keep developing so that they have hope for next year and all that. But yeah, Buffalo they're just going to win and all that, get another step closer to trying to get that one seed and all that. Even though they probably won't at this point because of Chiefs Devil Magic.
Yeah. All I can think of when I think of the Devil Magic is Tom Grassi's videos when he has like the devil guy with the Steelers. Just like the Steelers just traded into the Chiefs for whatever reason. But moving on, we got some Sunday Night Football. It feels like every season now the Buccaneers play Dallas in Sunday Night Football. I don't know what it is. Normally it's earlier in the season than this, but got the Buccaneers currently first place in the South against the Cowboys, who had that big letdown against Cincinnati last week. I think they played them last week. Did they not? Am I crazy? Who did the Cowboys play last? Oh, they played the Panthers.
Yeah.
I'm so stupid. They played the Panthers last week. That was definitely that was a huge win for Dallas going into Charlotte, beating down on the Panthers in that game. But for this matchup, I think you got to go with Tampa Bay, especially with how they played last week. Both teams, nothing's locked up for them right now. Obviously, it's looking better for Tampa Bay than it is for Dallas right now. So definitely, I'd say this game was more important for Dallas. But still, Buccaneers fighting for a division, so this is a big game as well for them. And again, with how they played last week, no one expected them to go into SoFi Stadium and destroy the Chargers how they did, 40-17. That's a statement win by that team, especially without Chris Godwin still being able to put up those numbers. Baker Mayfield with 4 touchdown passes. Again, especially against that Chargers defense that's been really good this season. Now they got another solid defense here in the Dallas Cowboys. So I feel like it's kind of hard to go against Tampa Bay in this one. The division's right there for the taking. I feel like they have all the juice in the world right now after seeing the Falcons collapse these past couple weeks. So give me Tampa Bay to win this one. They go into Dallas, get the win, and really, just continue to run away with the NFC South late in the season.
Yeah, I'm also going to pick Tampa Bay, even though I was still deciding, do I pick Dallas? Because they could actually upset Tampa here because, I don't know, Dallas is just on a fluke run at this point to still believe, no, we can make the playoffs, we can make noise and all that, but nope, it's going to end this week against Tampa. Baker's just going to throw all over that defense and all that. Dallas ain't going to do nothing. Season's going to be over. Tampa gets one step closer to winning the division and all that, and just keep riding high.
Yeah, so both going to the Buccaneers in this game. I wonder what the spread is for this one. I'm sure Tampa's favorite, but it's interesting to see how much. I didn't see that. But moving on to the final game of the week on Monday Night Football, it is the 5-9 New Orleans Saints. Somehow, some way, not eliminated from the playoffs. Yeah, you could thank the NFC South for that. As they travel into Green Bay to take on the 10-4 Packers, who had a really good win on Sunday Night Football last week and now having another primetime game back-to-back weeks, this time at home, this time on Monday Night Football, and I think it's going to be a very similar result. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to win this one. The Saints are one of those teams I mentioned earlier about having the backup quarterback playing, and some teams have some success with backup quarterbacks. Some teams do not. Saints are definitely not one of those teams that plays or some success on offense with the backup quarterback. And the Saints have really shown that they can't do much of anything on offense with the backup quarterback in there. And it's kind of sad to see, too, because going into season 2, I mean, especially like last year when they first got Derek Carr, like, oh, maybe the Saints can make some noise, especially after those first 2 weeks of the season. Their offense was playing lights out football, and then, the rest of the season happened for them. So, but now they're playing the Packers here. Who had an amazing win against Seattle. I know Seattle did lose their quarterback partway through that game, but it doesn't take anything away from what their offense did. Their offense played really great throughout most of that game. Romeo Doubs had that amazing touchdown grab. Josh Jacobs ran all over the defense. I feel like the Packers are waking up, and they're waking up at the right time here. I think they're going to get another dominating victory on primetime here, this time against the New Orleans Saints. And for what it's worth, keep pace for the NFC North, even though it's not really seeming like it's going to happen, but it's technically still possible. I'm looking more likely like a wild card team for the Packers. As you can see, they're the 6th seed right now. So with how competitive the NFC has been this season, this is definitely an important game, because if they drop this game, that makes the next 2 weeks a lot more important for this Packers team. But I'm going to give them the win here. This is definitely a trap game for sure, so I'd watch out for that. But give me the Packers to win this one and to advance to 11-4 and keep pace with the Lions and the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm also going to pick Green Bay and all that. They just had a statement win last week against Seattle in Seattle. Now, obviously, with Geno Smith getting injured, yeah, sure, not much. But even before he got injured and all that, they made Geno Smith look pretty bad, because all they had to do was just put a little bit of pressure on him, and Geno Smith just couldn't do anything and all that, especially the red zone trips where he just forced balls. He had the one pick in the end zone because that kind of cost him at that point of the game and all that. And then, yeah, just ran away with it at the end. And then Saints, I don't know what you want to do with them. Like, at this point, I don't really think they're going to do much, even if they somehow win the division and make a wild card. They ain't.
That would be insane.
Yeah, there's no way they do that. But there are crazy things, but there's no way to do it. And Green Bay wins, like you said, try to keep pace, even though I don't think they're going to win division, because they would need everything to go their way. They would need to win out, because they play Minnesota at least once more and Chicago. So that's 2 divisions right there. But they also need Detroit and Minnesota to lose out, because they've lost to them already. Detroit already swept them. So they would need everything to go right if they wanted to win the division. I don't think that's going to happen, but they will at least clinch a playoff spot.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. But that will do it for our Week 16 predictions here. Again, no Thomas. We got Brian joining me. Thank you so much for joining me on short notice. If you guys want to see my score predictions, I have those 2-minute slideshow videos that you guys can check out. I just banged my elbow on my table. Ow. But I'll post that a little bit later after this one's uploaded. If you guys enjoyed the video, thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. If you guys enjoy what I do on my channel, subscribe, please. I need more subscribers. And if you also want to follow me on Spotify, I'd greatly appreciate that as well. But with that, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weeks. And as I say, life forms out.